Well, hey everybody, Suffering Swords podcast. This is the second one in like a month. This is exciting stuff. This is
Not
episode
bad.
12, September 17th. It's a Thursday evening. We're talking some hockey here. How are you, Steve?
I'm good, man. I mean, some positivity in the air.
That's
You know,
surprising.
I know. I mean, we do have some negative things to talk about, but maybe things are heading in the right direction. I feel like I'm usually pretty positive. This is, giving me a nice boost. So we'll see.
And I'm not pretty positive. So me being excited about something is a nice change.
Yeah.
So what's been going on lately is that, I'm sure everyone knows there's an internal cap that's been set by the Pegulas. So to make a bad team even worse, we're not going to spend money. So that should help our roster immensely. Playoffs are still going on. We got 3 teams left. It's Islanders and the Lightning trying to finish up their series. And whoever wins that's going to play the Stars in the Cup, which brings up fond memories for Sabres fans when they were in there. Hopefully no one stands in the crease when they score. We had a couple hirings for the assistant coaches for Rochester. So Seth Appert has some nice help now. And we had a trade, which came out of nowhere. And I think we'll end on that because that's the only positive note. So we'll get all of the anger and negativity out of the way and focus on the one good thing. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. So just piggybacking off of the playoff talk from last week that went so well, we have a couple former Sabres that were still in. There's one that still is in, and Leonard got eliminated. I don't hold any ill will toward him. You know, what he was going through in Buffalo was his own thing. Obviously, he was not the player that we or he wanted to be. So, I probably would have been a little salty if he made it to the Cup, but thankfully, the Knights got eliminated, so we didn't have to worry about our former starting goaltender winning the Cup after our former second-line center won the Cup. And then we have a chance at possibly having the world's worst defenseman win the Cup. So I'm really praying for the Islanders or the Stars. I do not want the Lightning to win.
And the thing is, I mean, there's like no way that the Islanders come back in that series. So I'm just at peace with Bogosian going to the Cup Finals. I mean, I'm not really happy about it, obviously. I'm pretty, I hold a grudge against him. I actually think the way he handled the whole situation, he acting like, we just gave him the shit end of the stick when really we were basically forcing him in the lineup, even though he was not a top 6 D man for us for sure. It really ultimately basically caused Pilot to go to the KHL because he was getting benched for Bogosian, or not benched. If not benched, he was in the AHL.
We basically tanked what little chances we had.
Yeah,
to put him in the lineup, and then was it his girlfriend or his wife or something on Twitter that was like,
"Oh, that made me the most mad."
Oh, I was ready to throw hands with this lady. She said something about like all of the struggle that Zach went through to get out of Buffalo. Like we were a fucking jail cell, playing him fucking top 4 minutes a night when he's the worst fucking defenseman in the league. That really, I'm ready to beat someone up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Miss Bogosian. I'm sorry that your husband was making over $5 million on a team that was awful. You shouldn't even have been in the lineup. Probably made us miss the playoffs, to be honest with you. I'm sure we can find plenty of terrible misplays that resulted in goals that resulted in losses. And I'm sorry that, it was such a struggle for you guys. You got waived, no one wanted you. And then, you sign to the Lightning. Good for you. I'm glad you finally got your big break. What a joke.
Yeah, I'm glad it's somewhere warm so you can sit by the pool while your husband plays hockey. Yeah, if you can't tell, I hold a grudge against that motherfucker. Both of those motherfuckers. Sure, they're great people. Not in my eyes.
Yeah.
So you see who's your cup pick?
I mean, Tampa. It's been Tampa. And I mean, it's been Tampa for years, and they're finally actually performing in the playoffs. So, and they're relatively healthy. I know Braden Point's been like day to day, but he's still been in the lineup. And I know they don't even have Stamkos, and they're still like kind of crushing. So, I don't know. They look good.
Is he supposed to come back before the end?
I'm not sure. I really am not.
So let me kind of phrase this in a way that the Sabres might actually be involved in Tampa Bay's success. Do you think if they win, they're more likely to kind of hold on to their players more so? Or do you think, obviously they're backed into a corner because they're going to have to let, some players go because they can't keep everyone and pay them. Do you think it's more or less likely that if they win the cup, they'll be more willing to, try to trade, or if they're really going to just like hang on until the last second and try to sign everybody?
I think if they win the cup, it kind of gives them a little relief. It gives, all the higher up people, a little leeway. It boosts the trade value of your players, to be honest. So I think, honestly, it's not like, obviously they would keep everyone if they could, right? But like you said, they're going to have to re-sign a few guys. I mean, Sergachev's coming up, Cernak, Sorelli. They have most of their forwards, or a good chunk of their forwards signed for next season, but
and they have a ton of contracts that are just ridiculous too, like crazy cheap.
Oh yeah, I mean that helps for
what
sure.
They get out of them.
Yeah, I mean they have guys like Tyler Johnson and Killorn and Palat, and I mean just really, really nice deals. Braden Point at 6.75, that's crazy. I mean Vasilevsky at 9.5 is quite a lot. So there's that doesn't help too much, but they're still not in a terrible situation. Obviously, Victor Hedman, McDonough are signed relatively cheap as well for what they are. So they have to be the
best. They have to be the best franchise, right? Like in terms of drafting, in terms of signing guys, and just their roster is insane.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're in a good position to start with, right? Because you're in Florida, way less taxes there, so they can save a bunch of money and sign people to nice deals to begin with, because a contract there is worth way more than a contract anywhere else. And I mean, it's just nice weather. I mean, I would love that. That's a top location to play, right? So, I mean, they already get that, and then you just get you get guys like Kucherov and Stamkos, and I mean, you get like Braden Point was drafted, I don't even know where, 5th round or something, right? And
well, they have a lot of those guys that were not first round picks that turned into really good forwards, and like everyone just contributes for that team. It's crazy. Their front office is next. I don't think they're second in line to anyone right now. And I'm, as much as I don't want them to win because of my harbored hatred for one of their players, like I would definitely be pulling for them if he didn't sign there, because they pretty much are the epitome of what you want your franchise to be, because they do everything the right way, it seems. And even if they don't, they can make up for it by just either dumb luck or they have backup plans for everything. So ideally, hopefully, someday we can actually get to a point with the Sabres where we can actually look at them and say, like, oh, we actually kind of look like the Lightning from however long ago. We have a good roster and we actually have a good plan in place to move forward.
Hopefully.
but probably not.
Mm.
Moving on from that, let's dive right into the elephant in the room, which is the internal cap.
Yep.
As if this team was not bad enough playing up to the cap, now we're going to not play up or not spend up to the cap. So I'm sure that'll help with signings. I don't know how we're supposed to sign our RFAs with $10 million left on the table unused, probably for a new propeller for the super yacht or something. Um, this is what bad organizations do. This is what bad ownership does. And if they needed another feather in the cap of being a shit ownership group, this is kind of the cherry on top for me. Like, everything that we discussed in previous episodes about their disgusting business practices and everything that was going on when the pandemic was starting, releasing all of their people and not offering jobs back and all that heinous shit that they were doing. At least before that, we could say at least they're spending money on the actual hockey players, and now they're not doing that either. So unless they're going to take that 10 million and renovate the entire arena, I don't see how this is justifiable in any way. And anyone who still sticks up for these people are just, I don't even know what to say to them at this point. Like it's heinous what they're doing.
They must not pay attention to the hockey side if they stick up for the Pegulas because they
Yeah, it
came
must be
in.
Bill's Twitter.
Yeah, they came in. This isn't their main business. There's some owners that they only they have riches and they only worry about the hockey team.
Correct.
This isn't the only thing that the Pegulas have. This isn't their where they get their profits from. So it's like, what do they have to break even for, or whatever they're trying to accomplish right now? It doesn't really make that much sense. And like you said, we're not really in a situation where we can really pull this off. We have so many RFAs and we have 4 forwards. You take Eichel, Skinner, Okposo, and now Staal. And of course, you do have some, younger guys like Cousins and stuff, but not many forwards, with a contract right now. We got to re-sign Lazar, Cahoon, Tage Thompson's going to get something here. Probably
Reinhardt's
the
the
same deal.
big one.
Olofsson and Reinhardt, of course, are huge. Especially after you boost their contract, cap or whatever it's going to be by playing them with Eichel, Linus Ullmark, of course, Brandon Montour, who there's trade rumors going around because we probably can't afford all these people, right? So and John Vogel did an article on The Athletic the other day, kind of just going through how we could actually do this with the 7 or 70 million cap that the Pegulas are trying to implement. And it's not looking too easy. You obviously submit a qualifying offer to all these guys just so you keep their rights if they go into free agency, with the RFA tag, obviously. But qualifying offers, put us at a certain point. But a lot of these guys are going to make way more than their qualifying offer. Like Olofsson is going to get pretty big raise, I'd assume. Reinhardt, Montour, Ullmark. All these guys are going to make way more than what they were making, or a decent chunk. And there's a site, Evolving Hockey, that does contract projections, and they seem to be pretty accurate. And you take those, and with all the guys that need a contract, all the RFAs, and we're over 70 million. Brings us to about 72 or so with Staal coming and replacing Johansson. So and that still leaves some holes. That's not even the full roster. So
That's
I don't know
just
if we're
guys we need to bring back.
Yeah, and we still have a couple slot, this healthy scratch to fill. I don't know if CJ Smith comes up, even Day maybe is a or D, however you pronounce his name, Jean Sebastian D, whatever. I don't know. He'll be the scratch, but yeah, I mean, a lot to think about here.
I just can't believe we're in this position. It's, the one thing that we could hang our hats on as an organization is that we have a lot of money and we're willing to spend it, and now that's out the window. So now we're incompetent. We have terrible management, we have terrible ownership, and we're not willing to spend money. And we're wasting years of Jack Eichel, which, if this was a rebuild and they put an internal cap, by all means, go for it. Save some money. You're not going to be good anyway. The whole point of you playing in seasons when you're tanking is to be bad. And the less money you throw at a team, the worse you'll probably be. Now is not the time to do it. So this is, I've said all I want to say about it, because it's just, it doesn't make sense at all in terms of what you're doing. And honestly, if you're not going to spend to the cap every year, you might want to just trade Eichel, because if you're not going to be competitive, you should trade him, because he is obviously a huge asset, and he would bring in a ridiculous amount. Unless you're Jason Botterill trading him, you're going to get a lot of stuff for Jack Eichel. So, I mean, that's the last thing I want to happen to this organization, because I think if you don't have Jack Eichel on this team, you should probably just sell and then, I don't even know, move him to the fucking Nunavut in Canada or something, where there's 8 people that are going to come to games, because no one's going to want to watch this tire fire of an organization. So, honestly, if you're not going to spend to the cap, Eichel shouldn't be here, because he deserves better, and there's no point in having him, because he's just going to walk when his contract's up, and you're just going to waste a lot of money and a lot of people's times having him for no reason.
You got to think of Dahlin and Jokiharju on their entry level deals too. That's a year of that wasted. Like, this would be a year to spend, because you have those guys on bargain contracts, and you're gonna have Cousins. I mean, we don't know how he's gonna be in his first year, but he's gonna be on an entry level. So I mean, you're wasting a lot of extra room you basically get from those bargain contracts. Just to hit that 70 mil mark for whatever reason. And even though they're quote unquote doing fine economically, it's not, they tried to act like it wasn't economic moves when they did all their firings and blah blah blah, and getting rid of a big chunk of the scouting staff and all that. So just kind of, they're basically lying to us, but it is what it is, I guess.
This actually is making me physically upset. Like, I have a headache from talking about this, because it's so angry. It makes me so mad. So let's just move on from that, because I don't really think you need to pick anything else apart from that. We've said all there is to say. It's a disaster. Moving into hirings that actually took place earlier today. It was announced that Mike Weber and Adam Mayer are joining the Amerks coaching staff. I don't know if you really have any. I don't know why you would really have strong feelings one way or another on this, regardless of what you feel about the organization at this point. Assistant coaches for the AHL are usually just helping out with development. Do you have any real feelings one way or another about this?
Well, I know, first of all, people have nothing bad to say about Matt Ellis as a person, and as someone that didn't have that natural talent. He had to kind of grind his way through the NHL. So you'd like to definitely instill that into your players, right? So if he can do that and get through the players, that's great, right? Mike Weber, I wasn't a fan of him as a player. He really did help us out in those tank years being bad. Really got to respect him for that.
He got a second for us too.
And yeah, you got a second. That was, probably Washington's, one of their worst mistakes. I'm pretty sure he like threw games in the playoffs too, if I recall. Don't quote me
When
on
your
that
best asset to a team is when you got traded, you're probably not very good.
Yeah, and he got really angry at the fans for cheering for goals against them too. I mean, obviously, I'd kind of be sad too, but whatever. I mean, I have no clue how he is as a coach. I know he did. I think he coached in juniors or something, right? Recently, or somewhere. This isn't his first coaching gig, so we'll see how he does. I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. It doesn't really affect us that much, so we'll see how it goes. What about you?
Well, they announced Adam Mayer, right? As an assistant as well, with Mike
Oh,
Weber
okay,
signing today.
yeah. True,
So
true.
yeah, I forgot about Matt Ellis too.
Yeah, I get them fucking mixed up sometimes.
That's all right. They're all the same.
Just like fourth liners. that.
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
they're fringe guys. Like that's great. I have mixed feelings about it. On one hand, it's yet more signings that are people that you're familiar with. You're not doing your due diligence and looking around. You're just taking names that you're familiar with and throwing them into your organization. I don't have we, aside from Seth Appert, not that there's been many people hired by this team in the last however many months since the purge of firings that went on. Have we hired anyone besides him that wasn't already affiliated with this organization?
It doesn't feel like it. It feels like you just get those nice grinding role guys in here and give them a suit and call it a day. That seems to be the
And watch them
game plan
struggle
here.
to read. I have mixed feelings. Like I said, obviously, on one hand, it's yet another internal organizational signing or hiring, whatever you want to call it. Seemingly not doing really any research and just bringing in people you're familiar with. On the other hand, you kind of touched on it. Guys that were not good players, skill-wise, are usually good coaches because they had to be good with fundamentals and they had to be good with, work ethic and everything like that. And obviously, most people that are getting drafted into the NHL now, who are going to be on your NHL roster or AHL roster, are going to be ridiculously skilled. And maybe, thinking of someone specifically, Casey Middlestat, we actually touched on this in a private conversation recently. He doesn't look like he is the most driven player on the ice. I don't care about, the little things that you're supposed to do with effort, like finishing checks and hustling to the bench and stuff like that. But he just seems to be the kind of person that doesn't necessarily leave everything out on the ice. And I think, with how few players have come up through the organization, I mean, how many, I can probably name on one hand the amount of guys that have come up through the Sabres organization and have made an impact in the NHL. And that's Victor Olofsson, who's the most recent one. And before that, who have we drafted in the last 6 years that has had AHL time and has come in and actually stuck in the NHL?
With AHL time?
Yes.
Damn, I don't know. I mean,
Is it just him?
I mean, let's see. In the last how many years? I mean, Brendan Gooley maybe was he in the A? He played a little.
I
Yeah,
think
he
so.
was. Yeah, Brendan
It
Gooley.
doesn't even matter how many guys. The point is, it's been a fucking cesspool down there, and it has literally this might be the biggest reason is that we draft people, and if they're not immediate NHL players, they never show up. And it's bonkers to think how many people we've drafted that have not panned out with AHL time and have looked good in the AHL and come up in the NHL and have done jack shit, or haven't even produced in the AHL and have just been, busts that never even made it. Hopefully, I don't obviously know the reason why that is, but I don't think it could hurt to have guys down there that were not skill-based players that are teaching guys the right way to live the NHL life, because I do think that's overlooked sometimes, and a lot of these players I think need guidance in terms of that, especially with the way Bottrill drafted. We don't really have a lot of North Americans. We have a lot of guys coming over from other countries, probably living on their own for the first time. And I think it would be really good to have guys there that can teach them in the right way just to live day-to-day life. Even if they're not the best coaches on the ice, which I have no idea if they are or not, just teaching them the right way to live just every day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is overlooked a lot, and I do put stock into that. Like I said in the beginning, this doesn't really make much of a difference. I can see why they were brought in, but, like I said, it's just more lazy hires to me. So it doesn't really matter. I guess we can move on if you have nothing else to say about that.
I just want to say, I feel like, all these guys they've been hiring, I mean, I don't know if it's like a buddy system or not, but with Kruger and really just a lot of the guys we've been hiring, it seems like they're all like personable people, like them. People have good things to say about them. So it seems like it's, the organization's moving towards, just bringing up guys a certain way and trying to be like a good environment for them, maybe. And it's different, but we'll see if it works.
I mean, it couldn't be worse than it has been, so I guess go ahead and try. Yeah, I agree with you with that. Maybe they're bringing in people that are familiar with the city, that fans are familiar with, and that are personable, like Ralph Kruger, because they're so bad at being personable owners, and they're so bad. They're so bad with PR that they just need everything to go in their favor everywhere else because they're just a disaster. Getting into the last topic, I guess. Sabres made an out-of-nowhere trade for Eric Staal. I don't have any bad things to say about this. I want to hear your thoughts on it first.
I mean, it's actually crazy how. Well, first of all, I want to say I don't really understand what Minnesota saw in this trade.
I don't see anything good coming out of it for Minnesota.
Yeah, especially they want to play Johansson at center, which we made pretty clear was a bad idea. And I was really not looking forward to either, maybe rushing Cousins into this, pulling a middle stat, or, playing Johansson back at center again. I was not looking forward to that at all. So trading Johansson, not only you check one box, saving money, that's one. You check another one, you bring in a second line center that we've needed so desperately since Ryan O'Reilly's been gone. You check another box, bring in like a good player. I mean, he's like a 50, 60 point guy, even though he is 35. But I mean, he's been pretty damn consistent. And I don't really see him falling off a cliff. And I mean, you bring in a former captain, a guy who's won a cup. I mean, however much you put into that is whatever, but I mean, it's definitely nice to have. And should be able to not only hopefully be a good influence on Dylan Cousins, but just add more to Jack Eichel's captaincy abilities and, be a good assistant captain for us and be a good second line center for us. And also played with Skinner back in Carolina. It looks like he's not going to instantly retire like everyone was saying might happen because he didn't want to move or whatever, move his family, which is understandable. But I mean, he's 35. He still has a lot left in the tank. So I didn't expect him to just retire hockey just because he had to come to Buffalo. I mean, we should have a pretty solid top six with him now. And, that's definitely a big hole that we needed to fill.
This basically changes my entire outlook on the offensive roster because the whole time coming into this year or this off season, everything was about finding a second line center, and I was 99.9% confident we weren't going to be able to get one. And if we were going to have to pay out the ass for one, and it was just going to be another super high risk, high reward, obviously, but it seems like whenever we take high risk chances, they always just backfire in our faces, and this is the complete opposite of that. You gave up Marcus Johansson, which is, I mean, there was a stretch last year. What?
He was leaving anyways. I mean, this is going to be his last year with the Sabres, right?
Oh, for sure. He wasn't coming back. I don't even know if we would want him back. I mean, there was a time last year for, what were you going to say?
We don't need left wings. I mean, that's what he is, really. So,
Yep. We were either going to play him out of position or he was just going to be another one added to the pile of the one position we have a lot of. We have a shitload of left shooting forwards and a shitload of right-handed defensemen. So, there was a stretch last year where he was one of our worst players. So, that's obviously until we traded for Staal, we didn't have anyone to replace him. But, this is what good teams do. They find players that forgot to add Buffalo to their no trade list. And they trade an asset that was not useful to us for an asset that if he is useful, that's great. And if he's not, then you saved some money and he walks at the end of the year anyway. So, this is a win-win. You did say you played with Skinner, but from what I've seen, they weren't really that compatible with one another. I'd seen comments and stuff about them not necessarily playing the same style, and that kind of, not that it was a bad thing, but I don't think they were used together very often, which is fine. Then you can put Skinner on Jack's wing and he'll put up 40. But yeah, this is the biggest hole is filled and our top six looks good now. Obviously you would want to add another winger to your top six just to even it out because you never know with, I assume Cahoon is probably in your top six. He's in mine just as based on how he played this year. But, our top six now, as long as we can re-sign our RFAs, it looks pretty good. And I think our bottom six, I assume Larson isn't coming back, which is a huge, huge blow to the bottom six because I think he's becoming more loved by the fan base. He was kind of the punching bag for a long time, but I think we've kind of realized that he's actually pretty useful. But our bottom six will seemingly consist of young guys with a lot to prove, and then it's basically the fourth line you have to figure out because our third line will probably be Cousins centering it, which I'm fine with as long as you limit his minutes and you limit his role. If you can find players that complement him, whether that's Tage Thompson or Kyle Okposo or someone else like that, I don't know if I necessarily want Okposo on the same line with him. That might be a safety net or it might be an anchor, who knows. But top 6 seems pretty set. Bottom 6, we have some young guys coming up that should be able to fill roles, and the biggest issue we had is seemingly now filled as long as he doesn't just completely drop off a cliff.
Yeah, I think that's the only concern. Like, there was maybe 2 concerns is, yeah, he's 35, 30, he'll turn 36 and he'll fall off a cliff, or he'll retire instantly. And it looks like that's not happening. I think he's going to be on the Instigators talking tomorrow, so I'm pretty sure that 100% clarifies that, unless he's going to go on and be like, hey Andrew, hey Rivy, I'm just going to retire. So, but I don't see that happening.
Like a 7-second call.
Yeah.
Does he seem like the kind of player that it will fall off to you? Because he has been around for so long and he's been so useful and so consistent that I just don't see him dropping off, because he's not gonna lose a step. He's not a fast player. He's a heady guy who plays the game, quote unquote, the right way. He's smart, and those guys are not the players that drop off. The guys that you need to worry about are the Okposo types, where they rely on speed and power to score goals, and if they lose one of those, they're toast. And he definitely, if he was going to hit a wall, I don't think it would be when he turns 36. I think we would have seen a decline. And, he was on pace to be, a 65-point player last year. He made the All-Star game. I mean, I don't have really any worry about him falling off that much. I mean, I think he'll be what he always is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he put up 5 points in 4 games in the playoffs, too, so he was looking good throughout the season. Yeah, I know. I was going to say exactly what you said. I don't think he's the type of guy that's going to just completely fall off a cliff unless he just randomly starts getting injury issues. But throughout his career, he's been able to stay healthy. I mean, he basically plays 82 games every single year. He just had one bad season when he went from Carolina, his last season in Carolina, to the Rangers, and then made a huge comeback in Minnesota. Has been great for them. Yeah, I don't see it happening. I actually even think that Staal has a better chance of staying with the Sabres past this upcoming season than Johansson did. Maybe signing a 1 or 2 year deal afterwards to be that, safety net second line center or play third line center, and just, you got Eichel, Cousins, and Staal as your, top 3 centers. It sounds pretty good. So, really, really nothing bad to say about this deal. A really, really good first trade here for us here with the new GM, and Kevin Adams off to a good start. So hopefully, I mean, he's not done. He's got a big task ahead of him if he has to stay around 70 million. Really means Risto or Montour basically have to be traded. So hopefully, we can maybe either get ideally someone ready to step in, probably maybe a top 6 right wing. I don't know. Or futures, but definitely would be nice to get someone that can step in right away. I mean, we have Bryson who can come in, play defense. Will Borgen, he's going to have to get some savvy free agent signings maybe to fill the bottom 6 forwards like you mentioned. Maybe Jesper Fast or something here. But good start to him for sure.
I knew you were going to throw Jesper Fast in eventually. Yeah, this really changes my opinion on him. Definitely not on any other part of the management, but like you said, this is a very, very good first move by the GM. Um, this is, like we were saying, this can't really go wrong. I mean, it can backfire, but you're not going to lose anything because of it.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think the big thing now is just trying to fill in the forwards around him, and please, for the love of God, trade fucking Rasmus Ristolainen. Just fucking do it.
Yes.
I think regardless of what we do, we could trade a seventh round pick for Connor McDavid. If Rasmus Ristolainen is still on the roster next season, this offseason was a failure in my books. And I'm gonna live and die by that. In order for me to actually be happy with Kevin Adams going into next season, regardless of what else he does, Rasmus Ristolainen needs to be off this roster, because if he's still here, that's all the shit you said about actually using analytics and paying attention and making moves based on actual statistics. You're full of shit. So it would be lovely to get the big Finnish oaf off of this team. And hopefully we can find a way to do that, because like you said, it either has to be him or Montour, if not both. And he is the most logical choice to be off this roster. He has been for the last, 3 years. It has made sense to move him, and his name has been floated out there. And he has said at least once that a trade would be good for him, so he doesn't even want to fucking be here. I don't know why this team has such a fucking hard on for him, but it's time to go. It's time to go, Rasmus. Just get the fuck out of here.
And going back to the analytics that you were mentioning, I mean, the Staal. I just wanted to mention the Staal trade. You know, his analytics have looked great last year. Definitely beat out Johansson. You know, this, like, every type of Sabres fan can be happy here. You know, you get unless they're still salty about 2007. That's the only, like, Sabres fans that really could be mad about this. Like, you know, the analytics people are happy. The people that just look at stats should be happy. You know, the old-fashioned hockey people probably happy. I don't know.
He plays the right way.
Yeah.
And he's a leader in that locker room. Let me tell you, bub.
and it's just like, yeah, like you said as well, like, we didn't give up any future assets or anything. We just gave up, you know, Johansson 1-for-1. So, just you know, a good note to end on for this episode, right?
Absolutely. I'm glad we actually have something positive to talk about. Hopefully this continues. Playoffs are wrapping up probably, unless there's another trade that actually moves the needle. You probably won't hear from us again until closer to the draft and, like, free agency and everything like that.
Which is coming up.
It is, yeah.
October 6th is the draft date for the first round.
Yes, sir. So we'll definitely come at you with an episode about what we want to happen in the draft, what we want to see in free agency. Like I said, there might be a quickie if there's another trade that moves the needle. But yeah, it's a good note to end on. There's a little faith in Kevin Adams now from my end, which is very unexpected to me. And yeah, hopefully he can just keep rolling and keep making changes. I'm glad this trade didn't take a year and a half to come to fruition, unless maybe he already knew about it a year and a half ago and we haven't heard about it.
I'm pretty sure it took 2 days, because that's when people are saying Staal, like, submitted his list on Tuesday, right, or something, or Monday. I don't even know. Like, this was quick.
Well, I know it was quick because I saw on Twitter that he hadn't heard about the deal until like a couple minutes after it happened, and he was
Yeah,
like,
that
"Oh,
too.
like I forgot to add them to the list." Fuck. Um, but yeah, let's wrap this one up before we go on any other tangents about anything. Try to end
Yeah.
positively for once. But thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to get some video out there whenever we can actually get together and do an in-person podcast.
Mhm.
But I'm sure that won't be for a while. So everyone just keep staying safe. Do your best not to kill anyone's grandparents, and we'll see you soon.
Later.
Toodles.